Alright, now it's time to employ a technique that lies at the heart of one of the terrain techniques we'll be using later, the displacement in form of a modifier. For that, onto our mountain, we will add a modifier called displacement. First though, let's apply the scale for it to work properly. And then find it. Find it. I never seem to be able to find the modifier at first try. Here we go. By default, it just turns your geometry into a weird blob. That's because it pushes all the vertices up along their normals by amount specified here. The midpoint basically changes where the displacement is computed from, whether from the lowest point of the geometry, from the highest, or in the middle like we have now. Anyways, you'll learn much more about this in later chapters. What's important now is going into this texture menu, choosing the displaced texture we created, and opening this rock 34 displacement texture provided in the project files. Clearly something is happening, but not really too pretty. So before anything, we need to go back to this modifier tab and first set the displacement value to be much lower intensity so that we can actually see what's happening. 0.2 will probably be okay. What's going on is, based on the black and white information we provided here, the texture is being mapped onto the mesh and displaces vertices up where it's white or down where it's black. And everything in between, of course, where there is gray. We can then go in the texture again and increase the tiling here. And immediately we can see that the mapping is somewhat weird. It almost looks like the texture is not being mapped onto the surface just 8 times, but many more times. Well, that is because we have not changed the coordinates here to be based on UVs. So let's correct it. And yeah, that looks better. Actually, displacement of 0.2 or 0.1 will do, and let's lower the repetitions to just 4. And I think that's going to be enough, especially if we add one more level of definition above the displacement modifier. Just add a subdivision surface modifier here and be prepared to wait a bit. It's adding a lot of resolution at this point. With these new levels of geometry, however, the result is much crisper and the displacement adds a lot of interest to it. One you would not necessarily achieve in Ant add-on alone, or at least you would have to wait much longer. Also, do not forget to right-click on the mesh and check smooth normals. That will get rid of any hard edges, unless of course you have this auto smooth option checked. So uncheck it. Depending on the size of your mountain, which I've mentioned at the end of the last lesson, you will probably need to input different values here into the displacement modifier strength. Do not let that discourage you though. Please just experiment with numbers until you get a result somewhat like mine. Generally, if you do not scale your mountain and leave the size that you got from Ant Landscape, you will have something like 0.02 in here. In case you scale it, you will probably have these numbers. And again, let me repeat, no single workflow will be the same. Every time, it's just about experimenting and playing around with values. So yeah, keep that in mind and do not let that scare you. Okay, in the next lesson, we will start adding the snow material.